March 14th. So I would like to welcome you all here in the council chambers and also in our viewing audience to the March 14th, 2018 meeting of the City of Davenport Zoning Board of Adjustment. Your participation in city government is appreciated and welcomed. If you have a pager or a telephone, we'd appreciate it if you could turn it off now. Even if it's in silent mode, it may interfere with the room's electronics. My name is Kathleen Hart. I'm the chairman of this commission, and the members present today are to my immediate left, Lynn Cochran, to my immediate right, Judith Lee, and to my far right, Carrie Strayhall. Absent with cause, Jim Reistroffer. Staff present today, Scott Copes, and from legal, Mallory Hoyt. The Zoning Board of the Zoning Board of Adjustment is a 5-member judicatory board established by law, were appointed by mayor and confirmed by city council to serve without compensation for a 5-year term. We normally meet twice each month to hear appeals involved in hardships from strict application of current zoning laws. We also grant variances on and rule on a variety of discretionary permits. Do we have any corrections to the minutes from our last meeting? Hearing about none, we'll take a yes, no vote. Excuse me.
Move to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
And all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That passes. We haven't had a meeting in a very, very long time. Boy, am I out of shape. All right. We have 2 items on our agenda today. The first is request HV 19-01 of Galesburg Sign on behalf of Monson TNT at 4315 Wapello Avenue for 2 hardship variances, an increase of the height for a freestanding sign and an increase in the allowed area for a freestanding sign. The proposed sign will be 80 feet tall and 400 square feet. The property is zoned I-2 Heavy Industrial District. Section 17.12.060 of the Davenport Municipal Code limits freestanding signs in the I-2 district to 25 feet in height and 100 square feet in area. Scott, if you could please present the case for the city.
Scott Copes, Community Planning. So as you stated, the hardship request today is for a sign. They're allowed to have a 25-foot sign. They're allowed to have a 100 square foot sign. This property is what we used to call a double frontage lot. The new ordinance now calls it a through lot. So they have frontage on 280. They also have frontage on Wapello. Now, the only access to the property is from Wapello. And so, you know, if you've read the staff report, which I'm sure you have, my suggestion in the staff report was that, you know, the sign be placed near Wapello because that's where the customer's going to be coming from. Petitioners wanted to place the sign out here closer to the property line near 280. So they can do that near 280, but you know, as the petitioners pointed out, a sign that's only 25 feet high and 100 square feet is probably not going to be very visible from the interstate if that's where they go with it. So here's what the sign is. It's 80 feet tall. It's got a message board on it. And you know, again, as I stated in the staff report, it's 220 times taller than what's allowed. It's 300% larger area-wise than what's allowed. We sent out notices to property owners. We have not had any comments back. They actually have 3 separate parcels here, so when we did our notification, we based it off of the properties they owned and went out 200 feet from that. And then again, just to reiterate what I've stated in my staff report, so the property, does it meet a reasonable return? Can they reasonably use the property and adhere to the zoning ordinance? And in my opinion, yes, they can. They can have a sign off of Wapello. It could be easily identified that way. This is not really an impulse buy. It's not something that you're driving down the interstate and you see the sign and you say, hey, let me pull over and go see this business, because it's not the nature of their business. It's not like it's food or anything like that. So the physical nature, the property is flat. They have an opportunity to place a sign at either street or either location. So there's really no physical nature of the property. The petitioner did mention there's trees. Trees can be taken down. Whether that's the best place for the sign, I guess that's for the board to decide. The unique circumstance, they did not meet the unique circumstance. This is a property that is common throughout Davenport. It's not the only through property. It's not the only property on the interstate. The ordinance applies to all these properties that have double frontage lots. So it's not a unique circumstance by any means. And as the essential character, it would be different to have a sign that, this large. It would change the essential character of the area. So in all 4 of those cases, they have not met the requirements, and so staff has recommended denial of the request.
Thank you, Scott. Any board member questions for Scott? Yes, Lynn.
Scott, it looks to me from the drawing and the image that you projected of the sign that's proposed that it's about the same size as a billboard. Would that be fair to say?
A lot of billboards may be tall or more square footage than this, but there are billboards this size.
Okay, thank you.
The height's definitely like a billboard.
Yes.
Any other questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. I don't see a name associated with our request here, but is there somebody here for Jeff Pickrow or Mr. Hanson?
I'm Kenneth. Jeff couldn't be here.
Well, would you please come up to the dais and give us your name and address and then present your case to us?
Okay, I'm Kenneth Pickrow. I'm the owner of the Galesburg sign.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff couldn't be here, so.
And your address, please.
Pardon?
Give us your address, please.
I still can't hear you.
Could you please give us your address?
Oh, it's 1518 South Henderson Street, Galesburg, Illinois.
Thank you.
The sign proposes to help direct traffic into his business of truck repair, like semi-trucks. As far as traffic on Wapello, it doesn't affect, it won't benefit him at all. But that's basically what the sign is. Has to be up over the treetops. But it's just to help out the business.
Okay. Did you have anything to speak to about those issues that Scott pointed out about the need for this to be located specifically there?
As far as the location goes,
Yeah, there were those 5 points that Scott addressed.
as far as putting it closer to Wapello,
Let me find the correct page here so I can.
I think there are several definitions for hardship here, for the 5
Yeah.
criteria for hardship. So one is, do the particular physical surrounding shape or topographical conditions of the specific property impose a hardship on the owner as distinguished from an inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were to be carried out. So that would be one criteria for hardship.
well,
that
the only
doesn't
hardship would be is to try to get more business to the business itself for semi traffic on 280. And as far as the hardship goes, back on Wapello, the sign just wouldn't work
Sure.
as far as drawing new businesses.
The next criteria would be the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances that do not apply to a majority of adjoining or nearby property and is not a self-created hardship. So would you say that other adjoining properties in the area have the same issue that you do with signage?
Yes.
So this is not unique to the property here.
Pardon?
This is not a situation that is unique to this particular property.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, if the zoning board of adjustment were to grant the hardship variance, would it alter the essential character of the locality or the area?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any other comments for us?
No, I don't.
Okay. Then we'll thank you for your input. Then you can go ahead and have a seat.
All right, thank you much.
Did the commissioners have any questions for the petitioner? None.
No, thank you, Mr. Pickrell. Thank you.
Anyone in the audience here who wanted to speak in favor of the petitioner's request, or anyone to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we would ask for a motion.
Could I just make a quick comment?
Certainly.
I just want to remind us, I guess, that the purpose of a hardship variance is related to unforeseen applications of an ordinance that create difficulties or particular hardships. And it's very narrowly circumscribed, which goes back to the criteria that Lynn brought up.
Thank you, Judith. Any other comments or discussion?
I'm sorry. I would just say from my perspective that I understand that the removal of trees may be difficult, but I don't believe that that would be part of what is actually outlined in our definition of hardship per Iowa code. And so I would see the removal of the trees as an inconvenience to the owner, as well as positioning the sign on Wapello Avenue.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion, questions? We would take a motion on this then, please.
Motion to approve.
Second, please.
Second.
Scott, could you please call the vote on that?
Cochran,
I want some clarification. Motion to approve the application or to
right, so
deny
it's the motion to approve the
application?
request for a hardship variance. So if it's approved, or a yes vote is vote for approval, and no vote is for a vote for denial.
Right. Okay.
Cochran,
No.
Strayhall,
No.
Lee,
No.
and Hart.
No. Your application is not approved. Thank you for your time, though. Now, our second request today is of Calvin Schwartz. Is the party here? Calvin, nobody here to represent Calvin Schwartz? Well,
Yeah, he stopped by to drop off the check a few days ago, and he was reminded to attend the meeting and not. And when he dropped off the plans a little later, at a different time from the application, he was also informed that he needs to be here. And also, when you sign the application, it says, "I certify that I've read the application," and the application states that you have to be here. So I wasn't kind of surprised that he's not here today. So.
well, we have a couple options here. Certainly, we can proceed without him.
That's correct. You can hold the public hearing without him, get all the input from the people that are here today, and then you could continue it later at the next meeting, so where the petitioner could speak at that point. But we can take all of the comments here today, if that's your option.
Is that suitable to the commissioners?
That would be my preference.
Instead of continuing or tabling this for a whole cycle and asking everyone to come back?
Oh, yeah, I think it's important that people
Thank
here
you.
be able to
right.
speak.
Please then, let me introduce this case. This is request HV 19-02 of Calvin Schwartz on behalf of Sharon Ann Dilley at 5526 Dalton Drive for a hardship variance to encroach into the rear yard by 6 feet with an enclosed addition. The addition was originally planned as an open deck and will be 14 feet from the north property line. The property is zoned R4. single/two family residential district. Section 17.04.030 of the Davenport Municipal Code requires a rear yard setback of 20% of the lot depth. Scott, if you'd go ahead and present for the city on this.
Okay, Scott Copes, Community Planning. So the request is for this property here. The house actually faces Delton. The rear yard is to the north, and I apologize. The application was submitted without a north arrow on it, and since there's no home on our site here, when we talked, it was my impression the actual rear yard was this way, but we corrected it in the stuff you have before you, but I apologize to the neighbors that it did go out saying it was east. It's actually to the north. So there was going to be a deck on the rear part. So this section here, it's a little recessed into the house. It was going to be an open deck, and open decks can encroach up to 10 feet into the required rear yard setback. But when they changed their plans they wanted to have this a 3-season or 4-season room. So when you put the walls and roof on there, then it has to meet the same setback as the primary structure, which is 20 feet or 30 feet, or 20% of the lot depth, which in this case is 20 feet. So that's why we're here today. They changed their plans. We sent out notices. I received a phone call and a letter, and you received that. That's from Keller. And then I received an email from Advanced Homes, I believe this is the name. And they represent 2 properties. So these 2 properties here are the Advanced Homes, and the Keller property is over here on the other side of Racine. So in doing the staff report, again, you know, our new code has 4 criteria we look at. These are based off of, you know, what the courts have ruled over time. Some of those things that we had in our old ordinance about light and air were kind of dated, and so they've been removed. They're taken into account with the existing criteria we have here. So it's not like we're losing anything. We're just summarizing it in a better fashion. So again, the first item that we look at is it a reasonable use of the property without this variance? Yeah, they can reasonably use this property without the variance. They could have a deck instead of a 4-season room. The physical roundings create a hardship. It's a flat lot. It's a brand new lot that's just been built on. You know, if they would have known ahead of time that they wanted a 4-season room, could have they redesigned the house? Maybe. They might have had to give up some room somewhere else in the house, or maybe the house could a little bit longer. I don't know, but that's really past this time. It's, you know, the house is already built, so or the foundation poured. But the physical, the unique circumstance, you know, it's a brand new lot when they designed it, so it's really not a unique circumstance. There's nothing here that there's not a creek going through the property. There's not a steep slope, so there's really no unique circumstance here. Essential character of the neighborhood. It's kind of hard to tell when you have a corner lot which is the rear, which is the side. So it may affect that just to the casual person going by. A lot of people driving by would never know that it had 2 side yards instead of a rear yard and a side yard. So that's neither here nor there, but it doesn't meet any of the first 3 criteria, and so our recommendation is, you know, we can't recommend approval for this request.
Thank you, Scott. Any commissioner questions for Scott? Judith?
I apologize, I did not go look at this site, but you said that the house is already,
The foundation I know is there. I don't know how much of the house is built, so quite a bit. Yeah. Right.
okay, thank you.
Carrie?
Madam Chair, can I just get some clarification here? So, we don't have anyone here that's to speak in favor of this, apparently.
Right.
So, we're going to hear all the information. I understand that people gave up their time. I gave up my time. I don't have a lot of sympathy for the individual that didn't show up for this. So
It's my
question-
understanding that if the board chooses, you can make a motion or a ruling on it today. It's typically board policy that, you know, you have the person here, but you can certainly choose to make a motion on this and vote on it today if you think that's what you want to do.
Okay, well, you finished my question, so. thank
Sorry
you.
for
No,
jumping
that's
in.
fine, thanks.
Should you do that, they could reapply.
Right, they can also, they can request a reconsideration. So if you, let's say you happen to deny it today, and I inform them tomorrow, and they say, well, I wasn't there, I'd like to speak, they can request a reconsideration, and two of the people who voted it down would have to say, okay, yes, I think we should reconsider this, and you could open it back up. So that's another possibility if that's where we go.
Thank you. Any other questions for Scott? Judy?
I recommend that we hear all the speakers and then decide.
Oh, yes. We're moving forward.
I
with that.
agree.
All right. We will skip the portion that would have been set aside then for the applicant, since there is no one here representing the applicant. We will ask anybody from the audience who is here to speak in favor to step up to the dais and give your name and address and give us your comments, please. If you're speaking in favor of it. Seeing no one, anybody speaking in opposition, please come up to the dais. Also, give us your name, address, and your comments.
My name is Andy Seitz, and I'm here from Advance Homes. We're the developers of the Greenfields neighborhood, where the property in question is located at. Can you give us your address, please? Sure. Our office is at 4215 East 60th Street. So we own the lot directly to the north and also to the east of the property in question. You know, whenever we submit plans to the city, you know, we are always very careful that our plans are within setbacks, side yard requirements, and such. Obviously, we're seeing a case here where a builder submitted plans that didn't take those ramifications into consideration. As a result, you know, he's going to ask to encroach further onto towards our property, and essentially what is going to happen is it's going to create a hardship on us to, you know, further construction and sell out additional lots which are neighboring this property. So as a result of them asking for a hardship variance, in actuality what it is doing is creating a hardship on us to build further home sites in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else who wishes to speak, please come forward. Give us your name and address and your comments, please.
Hi, Mike Alexiashik, 1410 Racing Court. Is there a way you can pull the map back up there? As you can see, we are catty corner to the property. We also built the home there a few years ago, and our contractor followed every single code of Davenport. He followed the backyard. Everything we did, we just set by code. Couldn't do anything else. The lady that wants to build here, they turned in their blueprints. They turned it in. They got the city approval. The hardship is not there because now she decides she wants to put a enclosed deck. That's not the only problem that this contractor has caused. The lot that's at 1404, because of him building the house and he actually elevated it, has built a dam, and now my sump pump doesn't shut off because lot 1404 is flooded. And so that's another hardship on me, is I actually have to have a spare sump pump in case mine goes out. And I know I have nowhere to pump the water, and he's caused all this damage now. You know, what was that?
I'll ask staff, but go ahead, sorry.
So the hardship, it's deck is directly behind my house. Everybody that's ever built that we've known, all the neighbors, others are here. Others have sent in notes. We have built that entire neighborhood by code. For them to want to exclude, basically get a free pass on a code, it does put the hardship at 1417, where however they decided to build their house, this is encroaching onto their hardship. And then we're going to set hardship all the way down the line now, which I don't believe is right. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak? Same directions. Please give us your name, address, and comments.
My name's Amy Alexiashik. I'm Mike Alexiashik's spouse, so we're at the same residence, the 1410 Racine Court. One thing that he overlooked letting you know about is that the builder actually came to our house last night and forewarned us and wanted to make sure that we got this notification and that we were aware of it, and he wanted to make the correction. We're sorry, but that document is wrong. It's to the north, not what the document from the city states. So he was fully aware, wanted to forewarn us, even took my husband in the back lot and, I believe showing him what he was planning on doing to curb the water problems that we're having and the flooding of our shed in the backyard. And also just clarify what the intentions of the build was, which is to enclose that porch area. So I wanted to bring that to light, that they're very aware. They've seen us and other people out in the land taking pictures. So there's no doubt in my mind that, they knew this was going on today, and we're just anxious to address the concerns we have with complaints with the city and also take care of this matter too. So I'll let you know that.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick question. So for clarification, who built the so-called dam?
The
builder.
The builder?
The builder for this.
way,
Okay,
I
I'm
wish
just.
I had a picture. I have a
Can you just
picture.
answer for me?
I have a
or-
picture on my phone.
Yeah, that's fine.
You'll see the
If
elevation.
I
I
can-
just want
bar.
I just want
Wait.
clarification to make sure
If
that.
you'll wait a minute about the picture. If you want to show us a picture that's on your phone, the phone ends up getting turned in as part of evidence on this hearing. So you rethink that, please.
Okay, yes.
I just wanted.
Good point. If you look at the back of our property, we have a shed right catty corner to the property that's in question. And even if you look at the land, our shed is here, the foundation of that property's here. So even if they tried to level out that land, from what I've been told by other builders, it's going to be very difficult and cause water issues because they are so elevated. I'm not a builder, I'm not an SME in that area, but what's happened is 1404 has now become sort of a lake, and it goes right down the property line behind 14.7, so it goes through our backyard and underneath our shed that we spent a pretty dollar for. That during the freeze, we had a little ice skating rink underneath our shed to the back of our property. So I'm assuming that my husband's going to email a picture. We have plenty of them. But, so that I've called the city and I've left messages letting them know and asking questions on how to file a complaint, because I'm not willing to wait for this property to get even more built up with siding and everything, and then by the time we're ready to go, it's no longer just going to be a complaint with the city, it's going to be a suit.
Did that answer your question at all, Carrie?
Yeah, I wanted it on record.
That
from
this is the same
someone.
builder?
Yes, the name of the individual that's doing that. So that's why
Sure.
I asked the question.
And like I said, he's aware of those concerns. He came over to the house yesterday evening, roughly 5:30, to discuss it. But it was very brief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right. I don't know that those are actually relevant to the matter that we're hearing. I appreciate you bringing that to their attention, but they aren't going to factor into a decision on this. All right? All right, thank you.
I will state that I believe it was the Keller owner that called me. I'm thinking that's the one that called me, and she mentioned water issues, and at that time I directed her to our Natural Resources office to address any of those concerns. So if anybody's here that has water issues, that would be the city department that you would need to contact, and they could, you know, tell you what the regulations are and find out if there's any violation or anything going on.
Okay. If there's anybody else here to speak in opposition?
Hello, my name is Paul Thronson. My wife and I, Jerry, we live directly across the street from the property in question. We're at 5529 Delton Drive. We've been there now for a little over 9 years, almost 10 years, and we have enjoyed the neighborhood immensely. One of the things we like most about this neighborhood is that there's space between houses. In a lot of subdivisions nowadays, everything's all jammed up together. It's not the case here. People have, the builders have made some good choices over the years and provided space between houses, which I think is very appealing. It's very valuable to the people that live there, okay? I personally have walked across the street. I've walked behind the house. I've inspected the property. And I just want to go on record as saying that I'm opposed to this, okay? When I first got this, I looked at it, and my first question was, it mentions the word hardship. And for the life of me, I can't understand what kind of hardship could be made for this sort of application here. As I said, I've personally gone and inspected where the property line is, the building under construction. The house today is probably about 85% complete, something like that. So this was, it's not something sudden. It's not there's no hardship here. There's nothing unexpected in the construction. I'm an engineer, so I can look at building construction and make some reasonable technical conclusions about what's doable and what's not and what's unexpected. So again, a bit confusing. The original notice was talking about the east side of the property, yet of course we've talked, it's on the north side, so that's been clarified. But again, I just want to go on record, as my wife does, that we feel that it just goes against the character of the neighborhood with the other houses in question. Everybody in our neighborhood has complied strictly with building codes in the construction of the lots as it has grown up over the years. So I think it would be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood, to tell you the truth, as well as to the potential sale and attractiveness of the lot to the immediate north there, the 1417 lot. So I mean, today there's no house there, but as you heard from the other advanced homes there, you know, should somebody come in, I think it's detrimental to their property value and their potential to site a house and put it there that would be just as attractive as anything else in the neighborhood. So again, my name's Paul Thronson. We've been there 9.5 years, and I'm here today because I just want to go on record saying I don't think this is a positive for the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else to speak in opposition? A gentleman just came in. Are you involved in this?
Yes, I'm the contractor.
You are the contractor. You're the gentleman, you are Calvin Schwartz? Well, Mr. Schwartz, the meeting began here at 4 o'clock. We've kind of proceeded without you since you weren't here. We will have you come up and give your name and your address, and you can explain to us what your request is, why you are asking for this, for the variance here. But understand, please, that we've pretty much completed everything else about your hearing.
When I applied for this,
Excuse me, your full name and your address, please.
Kelvin Schwartz, my address is 10687 160th Street
In
Davenport.
Thank you.
I come down and apply for the variance, and I don't really know why they said it was a hardship variance, because it's not really. We just wanted a variance so we could enclose the 4.5 foot of that.
Mr. Schwartz, could I ask you to keep yourself towards the microphone so we get
okay.
this recorded?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah, I don't really know why it was called a hardship. I come in and ask for a variance, and they said, well, that's a hardship variance. And this gentleman said that he likes the width of the, a lot of room between the properties. Well, we're still 14 foot from the property line. The city issued me the permit knowing that was going to be a deck, and that's why it projects out like it does. And then the lady I'm building the house for would like to have it enclosed, making a 3-season room out of it. But other than that, that's all I really got to say, I guess. I'm just representing her. If it doesn't pass, that's neither here or there. So I know I heard the other guy say something about a water problem. Well, we can't do anything much about the water problem until we get the finished grade done on this thing to fill in the ruts that we got in the backyard. Today we went and got some silt tile, put it across his yard, and so he won't have a problem with any silt getting in his backyard. But so that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Schwartz? All right. Now, if I can get us back into our upside down order. I guess at this point we would be ready, basically, if there was any board discussion or any board questions for anybody, any parties. And if there's none, we would proceed with a motion on this.
I move to deny the application.
If you would, please, if we could have the
Sure.
motion in the affirmative, then we can vote it up and down.
All
It's
right.
been asked by legal that we do it that way.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and do that, Kathy?
Well, Carrie, if you would go ahead then.
Sure, I would move to approve.
And can we have a second on that?
A second.
All right. And then if you would call the roll, please.
Okay. Strayhall,
No.
Lee,
No.
Cochran,
No.
Hart.
No. The request for your petition is denied on this. All right. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for your time and taking your personal time to come down here, and for those who took the time to do some very good work and putting together some written documentation on this. We appreciate that also very much. Before we adjourn, just want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day and a very safe one, hopefully. With that said, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks you, everybody.